Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of One Percenter, a Japanese action flick from 2023 that stars Tak Sakaguchi. It was directed by Yudai Yamaguchi, who was the second unit director on Versus way back in 2000. He was lead director on films such as Meatball Machine, Tamami the Baby's Curse, and Yakuza Weapon. So here's the plot for One Percenter. Action film star Toshiro Takuma is a man with only one goal, the perfection of action film acting. But when his samurai approach to the profession clashes with an industry addicted to wires, CGI, and quick edits, Toshiro and his trusty apprentice Akira decide to make their dream film themselves. When actual violence finds its way onto their film set in the form of yakuza mobsters looking for a hidden cache of drugs, Toshiro and Akira are suddenly thrust into action. Is this the ideal opportunity to take his real action to the next level? So, Tak is essentially playing a movie actor in the movie itself. You know what I mean? And the opening sequence is like this documentary-style montage that briefly discusses zero-range combat, a fighting style that was showcased in the 2016 movie Reborn. A very good action flick if you want to check that out. The montage also shows other fighters who associate with our main character, and they say he's too hardcore to be an action movie star, basically insinuating that he's a legit fighter. And then we cut to our protagonist after he's been transitioned to stuntman, but he doesn't get along with his coworkers that much due to his intensity. You know, he's overly intense. And as it turns out, he only had one cult action hit 10 years ago, and his career stagnated. So now he's out of the spotlight. But he is determined to make another great action flick, and he basically takes a scouting trip out to this island location that was a closed factory to just kind of scout it out for his next movie. And that's when the dangers show up. I mean, the Yakuza thugs show up near the 20-minute mark, so you don't have to wait too long for the action to kind of kick into gear. The locations in this film are somewhat limited. You could tell it had a moderate budget by Japanese standards, or moderately low. But it's not that big of a deal, since we're here for the fighting, and this large factory is sufficient for those needs. In fact, the first bit of action that we get uses the environment very well. It showcases a very cool drone shot. The camera's attached to a drone, and it flies through the factory when the first shooting with guns breaks out, and it's pretty cool. I really thought that was a cool way to introduce it gives you an idea of the geography of the factory and what to expect. Now, one thing I found interesting is that Tak's character does not try to kill his opponents in this movie. You know, he wants to incapacitate them, even though the bad guys are essentially an assassination squad. So the action design is very close quarter hand-to-hand combat with lots of disarming mixed in. You know, most of the baddies have guns or knives, so Tak will have to disarm them of their weapon first, and then work to knock them unconscious or hurt them enough to prevent them from attacking anymore. Now, Tak is almost 50 years old in real life, but he's still very fast and convincing with his strikes. It's pretty impressive. He's still in good shape. I like some of the leg takedowns where he pushes his knee on the side of an opponent's knee, and they're just they just lose their balance and are just knocked down immediately. There's a pretty sweet exchange during the middle section involving a blinding flashlight. He has this blinding flashlight in the dark, and he'll flash it in the dude's eyes and then hit him and disarm them or knock them down. It reminded me a little bit of that scene with Wu Jing in the 2010 film Wind Blast. But the scene here is a little bit longer and better overall. The main bodyguard gets an intro later on against three of the side protagonists, and then he faces off with Tak at the end in a very good one-on-one finale. It's pretty long and it's well executed. They don't even bother using music during the first half of the fight. You know what I mean? The fight doesn't even need music to make it exciting. You know, it's one of those scenes where you get two guys in a big room, and they just keep feeling each other out. You know what I mean? Kind of with a cautious attack strategy, and then they just go back and forth for a while, each getting their shots in. It's a pretty satisfying fight. I enjoyed it quite a bit. And it's the highlight set piece of the film. The camera work in this film is very good. Very clean, wide shots to the fights, none of that shaky cam crap. And the editing is spaced out to allow the fighting to breathe. So it's, yeah, this is just like old school, like just, you know, let's go. You know what I mean? Let the actors do the work if they can do it. And they pull it off. In terms of criticisms, one slight disappointment is that Masanori Mimoto's character is portrayed as a mediocre fighter. And this is the guy who is the lead actor in Hydra. And he got some moments in Bad City as well. So when I saw him in the movie, I'm like, ooh, he's going to get some good fights. But he, like, you know, he does get to fight a little bit, but he's portrayed as, like, mostly mediocre in talent level. But it seemed kind of weird to me. I figured they maybe could have given him a little bit more to do. But it was nice to see him, I guess. Story-wise, the ending is a little bit odd. It is a little bit odd, but I got the point of it, I think. So it's fine. Again, it's just not a big deal because I'm not really here for the story, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? And the action delivers. So I'm just really glad that Japan has kind of leaned into these kinds of action movies over the past, like, decade or plus. You know, I want more stuff like this, and hopefully we get more. So I actually strongly recommend 1%er if you're into action flicks, especially contemporary Japanese action flicks. It's available on YouTube and Amazon. I purchased the Region B Blu-ray from Third Window Films to add to my personal collection. And as always, folks, we'll see you next time.